I'm Mick, and this is Movies TV Mad, and welcome to the Movies TV Mad Daily Live, the best place to get all the news from the entertainment industry, especially DC live action, told to you in detail. I don't know about you, but ever since everything that, conspired to happen yesterday in terms of DC live action, the Keaton Batman costume leaks, the Variety article, ever since all of that, my head's been spinning. I didn't sleep last night. I was going to wait for hours to do this video. I was going to update my other social media first, but I couldn't. I had to do this. I had to do this now. I have to talk about this because, as I say, my head is spinning, mostly because of all the wrong misinformation coming out because of this article. We've got a lot to get through today. But first of all, let's look at the timestamp of what happened with DC live action yesterday. But really, we should go before that. A couple of days ago, Zack Snyder was taking a picture of his movie reel of Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut. It's a smoke signal. Of course it is. Zack Snyder works with smoke signals. Who knows what he means? Some people think he's about to show or has shown the movie to David Zaslav. Then someone asked him, will the Snyder Cut ever be released theatrically? He liked that question. Wow. Now that's just Zack being Zack. Who knows what's going on? Right. Then we get to yesterday. Now, European time, that would have been 6, 7 in the evening. I was prepping for my live video. So all of a sudden, there was the leaks of Keaton's Batman costume. Now, this is strange. It shouldn't be strange by now because I think Toby Emmerich and WB Pictures have leaked so much information about the Flash movie. I think they've done it purposely because they can see their ship is sinking. So they're trying to get you and me, excited so that Discovery can't sink their ship. So again, yesterday, half an hour before the Variety article was posted on everywhere in social media, Google, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere, they leaked Keaton's Batman costume. It looks really, really good. It looks a bit too shiny to me. It doesn't leak. It should look beaten up. But anyway, it looks really good. But again, it's been leaked for a reason. Now, I read this Variety article yesterday on my live, but it was too noisy on my live. There was too many people commenting with their hot takes. I couldn't concentrate. One thing I like to do on my channel is to inform people. So I went to bed last night and I felt uncomfortable. I didn't feel that I read the article out properly, that you guys understood what's going on. But maybe even deeper, that we need to take the Variety article to pieces. There's elements of that article, as far as I'm concerned, that are factual. But a lot of it is opinion-based and propaganda-based. One thing you need to know about Variety, it has a lot of friends at Warner Brothers Pictures, Toby Emmerich and people like that. Now, for a long time now, Warner Brothers Pictures has been its own entity. It was working against AT&T. Sorry, say that again. It was working against AT&T, John Stankey and Jason Kilar, and it's now working against David Zaslav and Discovery because that organization and its head, Toby Emmerich, are fighting for their lives. Him and Walter Hamada have come up with a plan, a multiverse strategy. And as I say, they can see that ship is sinking. And so they do what they always do. They leak information about their movies. Now, something interesting happened after the first Variety article. Variety had an exclusive interview with Leslie Grace. Don't you think that's a bit suspicious? Don't you think that's a little bit curious? So let's take this slowly and piece by piece. Because as I say, I want you to understand what's going on here. That's my job, to tell you what's going on and to give you my opinion and to react to your opinion. That's why I've come in so early in the morning. I was going to do this live 3 hours from now. I couldn't wait anymore. You know what a huge DC live action fan I am, right? I need you to understand, right? And I need to understand as well. I need to get this clear in my head. And now, I was just trying to do some research. I went onto YouTube. I watched Chris Wong-Svensson's reaction to it, and then Grace Randolph's. It's interesting to me that Chris actually put his opinion out there very well and spoke very well, as Chris always does. Grace Randolph spent the video pretty much trying to say that the Snyderverse won't be restored and, continue her vendetta against the Restore the Snyderverse fan base. This is a newly created kind of, I don't know, hatred towards that fan base ever since what happened with Morbius. I don't agree with the bullying of any movie, especially Morbius, right? So I understand her frustration. Now, she was talking about she knows stuff and she was saying this and that, but basically it was a video full of fuck all. It was a video, as usual with Grace, full of hot air. So someone who's very, a lot more popular than Chris Wong-Svensson basically made no sense and was making it about, personal vitriol, while Chris Wong-Svensson was very calm and explained the situation really well, but gave his opinion too. So I respect that from Chris. You should check Chris's daily videos and his latest video about this situation. So now I want to go through this article first, this Variety article that talks about Zaslav's and Discovery's plans for the future of DC live action. Now, my reading isn't great. So sometimes I'm going to say a word or something, but bear with me, especially when I'm emotional. My reading isn't really good when I'm emotional, and DC is emotional to me. It matters. It's not just a business. So bear with me. 80s rewind to times 90s. Hello, my friend. I really want the DC to just be entering and make sense. I'm sick of fucking hearing about Marvel. Do you know what? I love your sentiments and your passion. If you don't swear, then they won't hold your message for review and I won't have to delete it, which is really good for my platform and for you as well, because I want to keep your thoughts up there. So if you don't swear, it's a lot better. Okay, thank you. I know I swear, but I'm allowed to swear on the video because it's not made for kids. You're not allowed to swear on the message board, okay? They're not my rules. But no disrespect to you. I obviously appreciate you as a follower and a subscriber, and I love your support and your passion. Asians really want to wind the times 90s. I apologize, Mick. Sorry about that. No need to apologize to me. It hurts you, and it means I can't keep your message on there. That's all. I'm just trying to inform you. So, yeah, I know it's, look, I swear all the time. I get it. I am not against swearing. It's just their rules, I'm afraid. Anyway, should we get on with this article? So what I want to say to you first, that this article is not all factual, right? Some of it is opinion-based, and it's stirring the pot-based, and it's supposed to give an impression of something that isn't true. So I want to explain this to you, right, so we can actually deal with what's going on. Warner Brothers Discovery exploring overhaul of DC Entertainment, exclusive by Brent Lang and Matt Connolly. Right. The word overhaul, of course, can mean a great number of things. It can mean change. You can take an engine and, overhaul it. You can still use the same engine, but all the insides have been gutted. Basically, it's a brand new engine. It's a bit like Trigger in Only Fools and Horses when he said, I've had this broom for 30 years. He goes, yeah, I have to change the head and the stick. So how can it be the same broom, Del Boy says. That's what an overhaul is. So, the new owners of all things Batman, Superman and Wonder Woman are exploring an overhaul of DC Entertainment. Multiple sources close to the situation told Variety. Now, this element of this article is very factual, but Variety and their friends at Warner Brothers Pictures are trying to control this situation. Why? Because I think a more genuine publication like The Hollywood Reporter is very soon going to have an exclusive interview with David Zaslav. They know this, so they're trying to mix the pot their way. Right, so we got that clear. So really, in a lot of ways, you can't really trust Variety in a lot of ways. But what they're saying at the top of this article is true. It's been less than a week since Discovery closed its $43 billion deal for Warner Media, joining one of the largest producers of reality programming with one of the most valuable entertainment brands under the new moniker of Warner Brothers Discovery. David Zaslav, the CEO of the combined companies and top leadership have been toying with the idea of turning DC into its own solidified content vertical, the sources said. Right. They've been toying with the idea. Basically, they're toying with the idea of creating a DC Studios. That's what this means. They want to create a place where DC is made, a factory, right? Where everything DC live action is made, right? So that's the thing. They're thinking about it. They're toying with that idea right now. So as I say, I want to be factual here. Yesterday was about my opinion and my passion. Today is a mixture of both. And me trying to be factual so you and me can get our heads around what's going on. The move would potentially affect DC feature film development in the Warner Brothers Pictures Group, streaming series of Warner Brothers Television and the creative arm within DC proper, all in an effort to have the disparate elements more closely aligned in order to maximize the value of the superhero stable, one often seen as punching against Marvel. So, basically, they want a cohesive DC live-action property. So if you've got it in one factory, in one department, run by one person, a competent person, by the way, things can work a lot better. It's all about who you've got running this DC Studios. It's no good dumping everything that exists now in a DC Studios and walking off and saying, okay, get on with it. That isn't going to work. So they are looking to bring in a DC Studios, a department with a competent head that can compete with Marvel, because it's not really about competing. It's about making money and maximizing the financial potential as a business in their hugest, most valuable IP. That the IP has been underachieving for many years, pre the DCEU. Let's go back to Superman the movie, which was the first ever superhero film, right? They made 2 or 3 great superhero movies in terms of Superman. Okay, let's not call Superman 3 great. But Superman and Superman 2, even though Superman 2 had major problems, it's a good movie, right? So then we went quiet. And then we went to Batman 89, Batman Returns, which were pretty cool movies. And then they underachieved with Batman Forever and Batman and Robin because they wanted to sell toys. But ironically, by wanting to sell toys, they damaged what Burton had done before. And what Burton had done before was more Batman than what they were doing with those other 2 movies. Again, there were problems. So in comes Christopher Nolan with Batman Begins, one of the best Batman movies ever made, like The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises is a very competent Batman movie. Then, because of the success of that trilogy, they decided to get Christopher Nolan to helm a brand new DC franchise. Basically, like the MCU, but nothing like the MCU. If you get Christopher Nolan and auteur, who likes to make things that look like they're in the real world, it's not going to be anything like what Fate's done with the MCU. So Nolan's mentality would be to go and get Snyder and things like that, because they have the same kind of opinions about bringing these characters in the real world. But ultimately, you don't have to be a rocket science to know that was never going to work. And then it's been problem upon problem upon problem. Because it seemed to me that this all stems. They didn't even come up with the idea really to have a shared universe. Basically, David S. Goyer goes, I don't know what to write next for the Batman, for the Dark Knight Rises. Oh my God, a Superman movie, an alien invasion movie. Chris, help me, can we do this? So they got it done. And eventually Warner Brothers kind of convinced them to set up this shared universe, this Man of Steel movie as the beginning, right, of a shared universe. And it's been one disaster after the other since. So the move would potentially affect DC feature film development in the Warner Brothers Pictures Group, streaming series of Warner Brothers Television and the creative arm within DC proper, all in an effort to have the disparate elements more closely aligned. Right, we've already read that. Before the merger closed, Zaslav vetted candidates with experience. Right, this next part isn't accurate or factual, but it's a mix of factual stuff and not factual stuff. I'll explain it to you. Before the merger closed, Zaslav vetted candidates with experience in creating and nurturing blockbuster intellectual property with a goal of potentially finding someone to serve as a creative and strategic Caesar similar to what Marvel has in Kevin Feige. One of those candidates included Emma Watts, a former top film executive at 20th Century Fox Studios and Paramount. Right. So let's talk about Emma Watts. Right. Emma Watts was not going to be running at DC Studios. Basically, the Emma Watts thing was a rumor online. We all remember it. It was a prediction. That's what they were going to do. She wasn't going to run at DC Studios. The idea for her, the rumor said, was for her to be the head CEO of basically a Warner Brothers Discovery Pictures Studios. She wasn't going to be involved with DC Studios. She was going to be all round in charge of the brand new motion picture company, and replacing Toby Emmerich as its head. That was the idea. So they're mixing rumors with opinion. She was never going to head DC. That's a fact. But it does not appear that Watts will take the job. She was never going to take the DC Studios job. One insider suggested that Zaslav was less interested in finding a creative guru and more eager to hire someone who had the type of business background needed to keep all the different factions at DC working more harmlessly. Right, we need to talk about this, right? So this kind of paragraph in this article has been seized upon by a lot of propaganda merchants. A word and a sentence I like to talk about. Hashling me, what happened? Right, hashling me, I'm trying to explain what's going on, okay? So, yeah. So if you just let me explain, then I can deal with the comments later on, because this was the problem last night. Everyone was talking, and no one was listening to what I was reading. And that became a problem. So if you listen to what I've got to say, and then maybe I can respond to some comments if there's anyone in the live chat after I finish. Right. So everyone seized upon that paragraph I've just read. Creative guru, but someone can kind of lead it as a business and get all the creative heads together. This kind of sounds like to me that they're going to get everyone in charge now, shove them in the DC studios and say, get on with it. Like I said earlier, that won't work. And by the way, people saying they're not looking for a Kevin Feige because of what they said here. Look. The point being is Kevin Feige isn't just the creative guru. He is exactly what Zaslav is looking for here. Kevin Feige does everything. He is hands-on. He is the storyliner. He is the showrunner. He is the marketer. He's got people in his departments, but he oversees everything. Kevin Feige does everything. They are looking for exactly Kevin Feige. And don't be surprised if they haven't already made Kevin a lucrative offer. Insiders say that Zaslav believes that the success of the merger, one that has left the company highly leveraged, will rest in no small part on unlocking the full potential of the DC Comics universe of characters. Discovery insiders believe that although DC has achieved cinematic success with recent films such as Aquaman and the Batman, it lacks a coherent creative and brand strategy. Right, let's stop there. So, let's just read that again. I want to explain it to you. So, despite cinematic success with recent films such as Aquaman and the Batman, it lacks a coherent creative and brand strategy. Basically, shall I tell you what this means? They believe that Warner Brothers Pictures and Walter Hamada, Toby Emmerich don't have a plan. They do not have a strategy. They don't have a plan. And what they're doing is not working. This is what they mean. I'm going to translate that for you now, right? And we'll go over it one more time. It lacks a coherent, creative, listen, it lacks a coherent, creative and brand strategy, right? It lacks a coherent and brand strategy. This means that Discovery feel that the people running DC live action now don't know what they're doing. And it's an utter mess. And Discovery are going to sort out this situation. That's what that means, right? Discovery believes that several top-shelf characters such as Superman have been left to languish, no shit Sherlock, and need to be revitalized. They also believe that projects like Todd Phillips' Joker are a shining example of how second-build characters from DC Library can and should be exploited, right? So this is factual. They are not happy how DC live action is run, and they're not happy how Superman and top-shelf characters like Wonder Woman are not being used properly. 80s Rewinder times 90. I love DC with all my heart. I love these characters, and they mean so much to me. Please get this right. Ronnie George, morning, Mick. Morning, Ronnie. Right. So we're going through this slowly again, so I can really get you and myself to understand what's going on. So if you haven't watched this video from the very beginning, you can re-watch it later, right? Because it's important you will understand what's going on here. Reading the article again and explaining to you what's factual. So I just said what they're saying is that there is no plan, right? One more time, right? It lacks a coherent, creative, and brand strategy. That means they feel that the current leadership doesn't know what it's doing. There's no plan and there's no vision, right? That's what that means. Now, that's not me. I agree with this. That's not me. That's Warner Brothers Discovery. This means they're going to give DC Live Action a coherent plan, a strategy, and a vision. That's what they're going to do. That's the plan. Of course, this will take time. Right. So let's get that. They're facts. They're facts. Right. Now, at the bottom here, they say, should be exploited. Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn is another example. Right. So he gives an example of Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn. Right. This isn't Discovery. This is the author of the article slipping her in there. I'm not sure how much of a future Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn has got. This is something I've been suspicious of. And if you go back to the histrionics of it, she was great in the theatrical cut, the messed about movie of David Ayer's Suicide Squad, which isn't really David's movie, right? She was great in that film, but she hasn't really been great since. I didn't like her in Birds of Prey. Many people didn't, and that was down to her feminism. And again, James Gunn bent the knee to her in many elements in the Suicide Squad, where she was more of a hero than the Harley that we actually know is a criminal, a murderess, and fucked up in their head. That isn't the Harley we saw, and that's not actually Harley Quinn from the or the animation. So, DC has started to figure out ways. Now, this is opinion. This is opinion. This is not coming from Discovery now. This is coming from the author at Variety, because they're aligned with Toby Emmerich and Warner Brothers Pictures, and they're attempting to save his job. DC has started to figure out ways for its big screen films to inspire more streaming content. Recent examples include the HBO Max show Peacemaker, which was a spin-off of the Suicide Squad, as well as an upcoming planned series on Colin Farrell's The Penguin and Gotham City's police force. Right. They're so ill-informed, they mentioned Gotham PD. Gotham PD isn't a thing anymore, as we all know. So anyway, but the company believes that DC must do more to grow its approach to comic book fare, including bolstering gaming. So that's fact, right? So Discovery want to bolster gaming, right? Underwater Hamada, this is opinion, who took over DC Films from John Berg and Jeff Johns in 2018, the unit has achieved more consistency in terms of both the critical and commercial reception to the company's movies, right? So what they're saying here is factual and infactual, right? So critical reactions have been really good since Hamada has taken over. In terms of Aquaman, Shazam, Birds of Prey was received well. Wonder Woman 84 at the beginning was received well, but quickly became rotten on Rotten Tomato. But again, this is opinion. This is not coming from Discovery. So we're trying to explain this properly. So, critical commercial reception to the company's movies. He's under contract until the end of 2023 and could play an important role in whatever Zaslav has planned. So, that's him putting out some propaganda, trying to set out the narrative to us, the public, that Hamada is a very successful DC president. Unfortunately, he's an inconsistent DC president who doesn't talk to his consumer. Zaslav has pledged to find $3 billion in synergies in the newly merged company, a signal of how important cost-cutting will be to Warner's new owners. Mining DC's libraries of characters could help control spending at Warner Brothers. Right. Then they're trying to say, now this is again their opinion. They're saying because they've leveraged so much money, they need to cut corners financially. That's not what they're going to do. And they're not going to make DC live action the best thing ever because, you know, they need the money and it's cheaper to do it with DC. No, DC's the biggest, hottest IP they've got. and it hasn't been working. It hasn't been maximizing its potential. I think we can all agree on that, can't we? Right. So then it just goes into the upcoming DC films. It doesn't mention the Flash movie. That's interesting. So there you go. That's the article. So we want to talk about this more. I want to cue up the Leslie Grace interview, because I think that's a very suspicious interview as well. Something that Variety got exclusively. Again, they are connected to Toby Emmerich and WB Pictures. The leaks of the Keaton costume, very, very suspicious, right? There's a lot of things going on here, but WB Pictures are not changing at this moment in time. They're doing the same things. They're like rats sinking shit, trying to do anything to save themselves. Right. So the factual element of this article that has broke the internet on DC Twitter and comic book Twitter is that Discovery believe the current heads of DC live action have no vision. They have no leadership, that they're not maximizing the potential of DC. They have bought this company, Discovery, merged with AT&T to make a profit, to turn WB and DC around to the leading force in entertainment. So they are looking for a creative arm. That is DC Studios. So what do you need? What qualifications do you need to be the president of DC Studios? Basically, I hate the Kevin Feige comparison because I find it a basic comparison, and I think it needs to be explained deeper, which I'm about to do now. Kevin Feige isn't actually a Marvel fan. He wears the hat and all of that. He's not a Marvel fan, but he has Marvel knowledge. He's been producing Marvel content since Raimi's movies and Singer's X-Men movies. He's always been there, right? So he's a very good producer. He's actually a good writer. He understands movies. He understands stories. And he is not just the showrunner of Marvel Studios. He doesn't just set the narrative. He sets the business. That's why he's the president. But he's a really hands-on president. So the propaganda merchants saying they're not looking for Kevin Feige, they're looking for this and that. Kevin Feige is all of those things. And as I say, I've suspected that Kevin Feige one day could come over to DC. I don't know how I feel about that, but I think that's something that Zaslav and Discovery could be looking at. Now, would Kevin leave Marvel Studios? A few years ago, no. But the rot set in once they sacked his good friend James Gunn for not a very good reason. And he's the one who helped Gunn get his job back to at least finish his Guardians franchise. Now, he doesn't get on with Bob Chapek, the new leader of Disney. Now, he got on very well. Of course he did with Bob Iger. Bob Iger made sure that Disney bought Marvel Studios. It's been a successful relationship between both of them. But this guy, Chapek, is a disaster waiting to happen. And we all know that. Feige is not happy, but he does feel loyalty to Marvel Studios. It will be difficult to pry him away, but it's not impossible. So the qualifications you would need to run a DC Studios is, as said, be a good producer, understand these DC characters and these iconic properties. So you could learn that. You could easily learn that. But it would be better if it was someone with their heart in it. But people talk about Jim Lee. Jim Lee has no idea how to produce a movie or a television drama. So he hasn't the qualifications to come in and run a DC Studios on his own. Now, Uncle Jim, as I like to call him, he loves Marvel, he loves DC. I think he's drawn for both of them in the history of his career. Maybe they could put him in with someone else like Bruce Timm. But here's a name you're not going to like to hear, and that's Greg Berlanti. Because for 2 seasons in Arrow and 2 seasons in The Flash, he created one of the best shared comic book live action universes ever in Arrowverse. Now things got a bit political and things went a direction that haven't worked out for him. But the franchise has been sold all over the world and has done very well. So Greg Berlanti does have the credentials to run a DC studio. Whether I want that or you want that, that's different. I'm telling you, he has the qualifications to do it. And he's been very, very complimentary about David Zaslav. So he could be someone who could be leading that. Now, It's going to be interesting if they bring someone from the outside, because David Zaslav knows all about the toxicity at DC Entertainment. You know, he knows the toxicity going on at Warner Brothers Pictures. Chris Von Spencer made a really good point. After a takeover, there's that hangover period where you have to get your shit together and sort things out. So just because Toby Emmerich's still there and Walter Hamada is there, it doesn't mean they're going to keep their jobs. But they can't just get rid of the positions and have them empty. He needs to go and recruit people for this brand new vision for DC live action. And until Zaslav and Discovery do that, obviously Emmerich and Hamada will be in their positions. But it doesn't mean they will remain in their positions. I feel bad in a lot of ways for Walter Hamada because he's pretty much a puppet. He doesn't really have enough creative control as a DC Films president. But a lot of the ideas he's had, like the multiverse strategy and a way to fix the mess that came before him, are really good ideas. What's not a good idea is to replace Superman with Supergirl, to replace a younger Batman with a Batman in his 70s. As iconic as Keaton is and as excited as I am to see him, these are just things that distract us from the fact that the franchise has no vision or no identity. So even though I think the movies he's greenlit, like The Flash, Blue Beetle, Batgirl, all of these films, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, Shazam! Fury of the Gods, are all going to be great comic book movies, probably some of the best we've seen in the DCEU. As we've seen, there's a problem. So that's what you need to actually be the president of a DC Studios, a good producer, a good business person. You need to be able to align all these elements together and have a vision, right? So you need to be Kevin Feige, right? Or someone like him. At the moment, there's only one Kevin Feige. No one else is doing the job that Kevin Feige is doing. Now, so far over at the Sega Cinematic Universe, 2 movies, they're doing very, very well. And because Sonic, even though it's a very popular game, the fans of Sonic are not the kind of people who say, oh my God, that thing you did there wasn't exactly like the game. I know they didn't like the Sonic design. We'll get into that later. There's an article to read on that. So there's that. So we know what they want to do. They want to create a DC Studios. They want to rebrand DC Live Action. They want to give it a direction and a vision. What does this mean in terms of the films? Are they looking to continue with the shared universe model or standalone models like the Batman? So this is interesting. And the Joker movie, what are they looking to do? I would be looking to create a brand new shared universe, keep Matt Reeves' universe going, and keep Todd Phillips' villain universe going as well. You can do all 3 and keep them separate. So basically, you've got the best of all worlds. I keep on hearing people say, like these cinephiles, you see, a shared universe doesn't work. Do what the Batman's doing. Do what the Joker's doing. No, you can have it all. That's the problem with this generation of cinephiles and movie fans on the internet. It's either one thing or the other. It doesn't have to be that. You can have standalone movies and a successful connective tissue, a shared universe as well. And obviously, they want to keep on making money. And they know the real money isn't actually in standalone movies. The real money is in a shared universe. Just look at Marvel. Look at the money Sonic's making already, right? Easter eggs, cameos, connections. People love that. The audience have been kind of fed on that by Feige. And these other companies are trying to grab hold of some of that action. So I think you can have the best of both worlds. And I think maybe that's what Zaslav is looking to do. Zaslav really just cares about making money. Understandably, he's a business person. So he's going to do the thing that makes him the most money. And the thing that will make Zaslav and Discovery and the new DC Studios the most money is by having a coherent live action shared universe. So that's what they'll be looking to do. So that'll be very, very interesting. So none of this really explains the situation with the Snyderverse. A lot of people have been holding on hope, hoping for the best, that David Zaslav and Discovery would restore the Snyderverse. But will they? Well, as I said on the top of the show, Zack Snyder has certainly been sending out a lot of signals. I'm not in a position right now to say with confidence whether Zaslav and Discovery will restore the Snyderverse or not. What I would say at this point in time, it's looking good, but remember, things can be deceptive. Things may not be as they seem. And I think right now I'm not going to burst your bubble. I'm just going to say, don't overly get your hopes up, but don't be too downbeat either. Keep on fighting to restore the Snyderverse constructively, and who knows what will happen in the future. That's how I see this situation. So basically, Discovery are not happy with what's going on, and they're going to change things. They're going to rebrand it. They're going to give it, a vision and a strategy via DC Studios, right? Now, also expect David Zaslav to do an exclusive interview with someone like Vulture or The Hollywood Reporter or Business Insider. I think this is why Variety, the friends of Toby Emmerich, have tried to get in there first, because they know what's coming and they wanted to control it and control our opinion around it. That's not going to happen. I've literally now explained to you what this article's about, what part of the article is factual and what part of it is opinion. So I hope you understand somewhat what's going on. 80s Rewind, the Times, 90s. Shared universe is definitely the way to go, but you need a vision. You can't just hop in a car and drive with hope you get to your destination. You need a path and a vision. Yes, that's something the DCEU hasn't had, my friend, since Zack Snyder stepped down. You see, whether you like what Zack Snyder did or not, he had an identity and it had a vision. He was trying to do something. Now, it wasn't the most popular thing ever, but there was a lot of people who embraced it and wanted it to finish. It should have been allowed to finish. So you have to make the decision. What you do with Zack Snyder's universe. Clearly, Zack Snyder's universe isn't made for a mainstream audience or a mainstream shared franchise. So it has to go somewhere. Whether that's on HBO Max, whether that's in movie theaters where they make a moderate profit and they're happy about it. The other issue is Zack Snyder makes expensive films because of the amount of CG he uses, and his production values are so good. So you have to decide, do you want to make a big profit, or do you want to give the audience something and say, all right, have this, right? And we'll make a little bit of a profit. They're the decisions you have to make. And then you can say, well, we'll make the big money up, with subscribers to HBO Max, via restoring the Snyderverse, and we can make sure the mainstream universe for a mainstream audience makes the real money. So, yes, you're absolutely right, 80s Rewind and the Times, 90s. It needs a direction. It needs an arm. What Feig did was not rocket science. It's like having a continuing soap opera. I spent 2 hours catching up with Coronation Street. Fabulous writing. I was crying for 2 hours. Beautiful. They're franchises. Soap operas are franchises, but they're relatable franchises. Obviously, they're not escapism, but they're great. And they're really good. And I've always loved the concept of a soap, and I've always wanted to do my own soap. So that's that. So we now know that Discovery have big plans. These are things that have to happen if they want to maximize the potential of DC. But now, what happens to all these films that have been filmed and greenlit? In a minute, we'll go to the Leslie Grace interview, but I've got a lot to say yet. So this year, we have Black Adam, which is having 2 weeks worth of reshoots. That's not reshoots, right? They're just pickups. 2 weeks is nothing. They're not reshoots. You can't reshoot anything in 2 weeks. Believe you me, I've been to film school. I get it. I understand it, right? So 2 weeks are not reshoots. 2 weeks are actually pickups. That's all you can do in 2 weeks. 80s Rewind, the Times, 90s. I like that Zack had a plan, a vision. That is definitely what the DCEU needs. A whole with each and every movie. That's exciting to me. 80s Rewind, the Times, 90s. I love Dark Shadows. Each episode had me wanting more. I want DC movies to get me wanting more. Exactly, yeah. And that's what the MCU does, get you wanting more. It's a continuing saga, basically. That's what it is. So, 1 minute, I'm going to switch my heater off. I'm losing it. It was already switched off. Right. So now we're talking about the existing DCEU that, we now know Discovery are not happy with. They don't believe it has a direction, right? And they don't believe the leader of this studio is doing the right thing. So what happens to these films, right? You could just release them and then forget about it, because they're going to need time to do everything they're planning. So they're going to need content. So it is a bit of a mess. Now, don't forget, this is the studio that's still advertising that We Need Heroes in 2022, even though they've delayed 2 movies to 2023. So you can't trust a word they say. But anyway, it's clear the films that have been brought forward have less problems going into making them. In terms of Shazam! Fury of the Gods, the cast get on. David F. Sandberg, apart from saying nonsense like he doesn't want to make Superman, is a really good guy. And then, of course, you've got Black Adam, which introduces the JSA. It sounds like a fabulous movie. So they're safe bets, basically. They're not safe bets to make lots and lots and lots of money, but they're safe bets. And it looks like the movies, isn't it ironic? The 2 movies with controversies surrounding certain actors in the movie have been pushed to next year. The suspicion for me, and why I worry about even the Shazam! Fury of the Gods date, it's been put right where Avatar 2 is going to be released. Are they really going to do this? Are they really going to release it there? I have my doubts. I think we're looking at more date changes, so don't get too excited about what's to come this year. The reality is we may not see any DCEU movies this year, right? Because clearly Discovery have come in and they're not happy with the state of things. Now, my logical brain would say, Mick, they've made the films. They're going to release them. I agree. People have said that to me, Mick. You know, everyone's worked hard. You can't just say to hell with it. But if the situation is messy, if the situation doesn't work, and in fact, they're going to lose money marketing this stuff, that may be part of their thinking. So who knows what happens now? But we have heard in an article, and an element that I've told you is factual, that they're not happy how Superman has been allowed to decline. So apparently the Flash movie deletes Superman, right? Replaces Superman with Supergirl. We've just heard that they want Superman front and center. Do you really think they're going to allow the Flash in its current state, a film that deletes Superman, to be released as is? You know that's not the case. So the Flash is one movie that either may be cancelled entirely or may be rebooted to start again. Now, I don't know what they want to do with Ezra Miller. That's another problem. And that's something they're going to have to think about as a studio. But considering this company wants Superman, they don't believe Superman's been utilized properly, they're not going to allow the Flash movie as it is right now to replace and delete Superman with Supergirl, right? I'm making a logical argument, right? So the Flash can't be released and won't be released as it is right now. So they can either rewrite it, reshoot it, or bin it all together. That's a decision they're going to have to make because they want to utilize Superman more. So the problem is, if you bin the Flash, you have to bin a couple of other movies, or maybe all of the movies. For example, the Flash introduces Michael Keaton's Batman. The Michael Keaton's Batman, his second appearance will be in the Batgirl movie. And they've just interviewed this young woman. And it sounds like they're going ahead with this movie. But then again, as I said, they're advertising The World Needs Heroes in 2022 trailer still, right? So this isn't a coherent company. This company's a mess. And this is what Discovery and Zaslav are absolutely saying. And this is what elements of this article, factual elements of this article, because a lot of this article isn't factual, it's opinion-based. So there's a lot to do with the current state of the DCEU. And yes, some films may be having to start from the drawing board. Maybe The Flash may have to start again from the drawing board. No, I'm certain, as it is right now, The Flash will not be released because they will not allow a film that replaces Superman. So they've got a lot of options. They can rework the Flash movie. They could delete the DCEU as of now. They can say we're releasing these movies, then we're starting again. But there's clearly big decisions to be made. Because if I'm so far from the truth, as I keep on saying, why has Andy Muschietti, the director of The Flash, been gagged? Why has his producer sister, Barbara, who couldn't stop posting on her Instagram stories, been gagged? Something's going on here. And I think sooner rather than later, we're going to find out what that is. 80s Rewind at times 90. I believe we will see all these movies. In my opinion, a lot of reshoots will be done. And maybe that's why Black Adam is being reshot to tease Superman. That could be an element. I just wonder in 2 weeks what you could achieve, or maybe the timestamp of these reshoots is more. 2 weeks are pickups, my friend. Pickups are different. So if it's only 2 weeks, they're pickups. Now, they could be doing something there in terms of Superman. You know, from orders from David Zaslav and Discovery. It's clear. But as I've said before, and many people say, you can't shine a turd. Squeezing things in and reshooting things isn't going to work here. So I don't listen. If you look, this is Snyder's franchise, right? It started off with Snyder leading it. As soon as he left, they should have brought it down and start again. I think the more they try and hop along with this franchise, the worse the situation is going to get. So I expect more breaking news from Zaslav and Discovery as we see what plans they have. But for now, we have Shazam! Fury of the Gods coming, Black Adam coming, and supposedly next year, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom and the Flash movie. Blue Beetle is going into production very soon, and there's other DC things being greenlit every day. Apparently, they're going to be casting the Constantine lead soon with J.J. Abrams' arm of Justice League Dark. But as I say, if they've got a trailer of 4 movies that are not being released this year, still in cinemas, can you trust anything they say? Someone has to grab hold of Toby Emmerich at Discovery and say, stop fucking green-lighting these things. We're not ready, but they're doing it. What is going on? Right now, DC live action is in a mess. And the sooner they implement a DC Studios and a competent DC Studios president, the better. The flow. Warner Brothers Discovery will let Snyder finish his art. The reshoots are to connect the current slate to the Snyderverse and add more Cavill. When the Zack Snyder's Justice League 3 is done, this will be a closure and will be a reboot. Maybe, but 2 weeks isn't reshoots, my friend. 2 weeks is pickups. We will see that. Time will tell. So I hope that you all will understand what's going on and what in the Variety article was factual and opinion. As I was laying in bed this morning, I just couldn't get my head right. And I knew we had to discuss this. So I hope I was competent in my job. So we can move on to the next stage of what's going to happen. Because DC live action needs fundamental change. You know it, I know it, and David Zaslav knows it, thankfully. Leslie Grace teases Batgirl. She says it's insane. Says she's already talking to filmmakers about a sequel. Yes, Leslie Grace has said that she's already talking to the filmmakers, the studio, about a Batgirl sequel. So if this was a competent studio, you'd say, wow, they're putting her out there. She's talking about Batgirl. They're happy with this. There's a big future here. But this is the studio who still has that We Need Heroes in 2022 trailer running. So this could be an Emmerich thing, right? That Discovery haven't been able to stop. So they need to deal with Emmerich, right? Because this does this mean that we're going to get news of a Batgirl release soon? Or is this more Blarney? Now, this is another Variety exclusive as well. So that shows you something. So Leslie Grace is home in the US after spending months overseas shooting Batgirl, the upcoming HBO Max film adaptation of the iconic crime fighter. She takes on the role of Barbara Gordon Batgirl in the film, co-directed by Adil Al-Arbi and Bill R. Fallah, with cast that includes J.K. Simmons as her father, Commissioner Jim Gordon, and Brendan Fraser as villain Firefly. Michael Keaton makes his return as Batman 30 years after his first appearance as the Caped Crusader. Talk turned to Batgirl when I caught up with Grace earlier today about her new collaboration with Haagen-Dazs. She's helping promote City Sweets, the company's new collection of ice cream flavors that incorporate street food desserts, including Churro Street vendor pretzels and black and white cookies. I'm just going through the whole thing. Brooklyn-based artist Jade Purple Brown designed the ice cream's colorful packaging. I've been eating Haagen-Dazs since I was in my mum's belly because it was like her main craving. The Bronx Raised Grace says there's this one flavor, vanilla Swiss almond, and that she would have my dad fill the fridge with. City Sweets is an offshoot of Haagen-Dazs. That's Daz's campaign, when she has committed 1.5 million to creators in marginalized communities. Grace talked brand partnerships that give back, putting on the Batgirl suit for the first time, seeing Keaton on set, and more. How important is it to you that when you do a brand partnership that there is a charitable component to it too? 80s Rewind, the Times 90s. What are pickups, Mick? I'm not familiar with them. Pickups are just like little things that they wanted to do. Maybe they wanted to get something in shot quickly. Maybe they needed a second take of something. That's not a reshoot. These are quick, easy things that you can do in 2 weeks. So shooting different angles, things like that. So it's so important. It's the main thing that I took for in all my brand partnerships. I never want to align with a brand just because there's a big dollar sign attached to it. People feel that, and that's just not what I'm about. It's not just, okay, we're going to give away this money. It's actually putting their money where their mouths is and bringing in creatives from the community to try and create a relationship for years to come. That's what really counts. That's what really makes a difference. So I think I'm going to have to skip it because now they're talking about fucking ice cream flavors. So let's try and... Right, so I imagine eating ice cream wasn't part of your fitness training for Batgirl. Right, now we're getting down to it. Once I got out to Glasgow to shoot Batgirl, we had already been talking about this collaboration. I think internally they might have just decided, like, yeah, don't send her free ice cream because I just might not fit into my suit for very long. That lever would have just bust. What was it like putting on the Batgirl suit and looking at yourself in the mirror for the first time? I think that was the first real moment where I was like, oh, wow, we're here. I'm doing this. Like, I'm really Batgirl. It's still hard for me to say that, but yeah, it was a surreal experience. When we talked in September at the MTV VMAs, you hadn't started shooting yet, but you told me that your Batgirl was going to be a badass. Did the badassery live up to what you were expecting? She definitely exceeds what I thought. I had to summon up some things in me that I didn't even know were there. It was an incredible learning experience to be on set with also action veterans like Brendan Fraser and soak it all up. It was so hard because he's our villain and I'm not supposed to like him, but he's such a huge teddy bear. He is one of the nicest people that I've ever met. He really is. And what happened to Brendan breaks my heart. In our fight sequences, the way he would just hit marks, it came from all of his experience. You can't improvise that kind of experience. There's some crazy stuff that happens. There's lots of fire because, as everyone knows by now, he plays Firefly. There's crazy fire. There's crazy stunts, crazy drops. She's a biker chick. So you're going to see her doing a bunch of badassery. Were there nights you got home and you were just in a lot of pain from all stunts and fight work? Oh my God, there were a lot of night shoots. There were a lot of long days, but it was so worth it. But oh my gosh, never in my life have I been so sore or depleted. There were some days I would get home and I would think, do I want to eat or am I just going to fall asleep? What was it like seeing Michael Keaton walk on set? It was wild for everyone. Our directors were like two little kids. They're legit Batman nerds openly. He's Batman. He's Batman. Batman! I couldn't even believe that I was sharing space with Batman. I want to say more, but I can't. It was insane, surreal, incredible. It was the stuff of dreams. And J.K. Simmons playing my dad. That's my pop. I was so nervous because all I could hear in my head was his voice in Whiplash. I like what would he do and say if I didn't get something right last. Then we became the best of friends and he told me all his great stories of starting out and being a waiter and working in a pizza shop and trying to be an actor and doing theatre. Have you reached out to other actors who play superheroes like Gal Gadot, even Alicia Silverstone? Oh my God. I haven't. I probably should have. It's like almost a little overwhelming and hard for your brain to catch up on the magnitude of what it is that you're doing, that it almost feels like it's happening in a vacuum. I was just like, oh man, I hope I can do this. Am I in the club? I almost felt like the whole time I had some imposter syndrome. You want to earn your place, but now that you're mentioning it, I'm going to slip in a few DMs and ask, hey, what was your experience? I did reach out to Sasha Calle, who is Supergirl in The Flash. I'm hoping that we get to meet soon. because we're part of the new gen. I did reach out to Xolo Maradula, our Blue Beetle. He's freaking awesome. I'm so happy for him. When do you shoot Batgirl 2? So that's an interesting question. Last, we got to see the first one first, but there's definitely some talks about what it could be. I've seen some of what we've shot, obviously in the playback and stuff like that, and it's insane. We're already been talking about where do we take this from here, because there's so much that happens in this film. There are a lot of different themes in the plot that we touch on. It's not just the action. There's a love story. There's this father-daughter relationship. There's looking at the world through a lens that isn't just black and white, and seeing the color and spectrum between things. So that's that interview. So let's go into it. So where are we? Right. So on the surface, this seems like a really nice, awesome interview. You know, the actress Leslie Grace playing Batgirl is talking about the film, and she says the directors are fanboys and they geeked out when they saw Keaton in the costume. It's great, but I have grown to be suspicious of this studio that is WB Pictures. Leaks of the Keaton costume after an article talking about the new owners of WB, that they want to revitalize and change everything about DC live action. Then we get an interview. And as I say, on the surface, it's a nice, sweet interview. They even talk about possibilities of sequels. As I say, Walter Hamada's films that have been made and have been greenlit sound very good. And I don't think the problem is what he's doing, apart from replacing Superman by the way, if that's true, because that's done. Maybe he's replacing Cavill as Superman and not replacing Superman altogether. We will see. So that's a nice little interview, and I like what she had to say, and I'm excited for that movie. The thing is, I actually hope to get to see it. We still don't have a release date for Batgirl. We have never had an official release date for Batgirl. And this is what a mess of a company this is, and this is why Discovery want to fundamentally change it. So this was another piece of breaking news. Don't forget, this all came back to back of each other just after Variety had shared the fact that Discovery want to change DC live action fundamentally. It sounds like people at WB Pictures are getting a bit nervous, and when they get nervous, they start posting a lot of marketing. Blue Beetle movie cast Susan Sarandon as DC villain Victoria Cold. So this is, of course, very exciting news. The flow. I noticed that a lot of bloggers are mad that Zaslav wants to restructure DC because they were on the payroll of WB. They exaggerate the success of Hamadaverse. That's another battle for Zaslav to win. Well, as the head, he has to win that battle, because if we carry on going around this Groundhog Day with DC live action, nothing's ever going to change. The upcoming DC Extended Universe Blue Beetle movie is expanding its cast with the addition of icon Susan Sarandon, I put the word icon in, as its villain, Victoria Cold, by Grant Hermans of Screen Rant. The upcoming DC Extended Universe Blue Beetle movie is expanding its cast with the addition of Susan Sarandon as its villain, Victoria Cold, originally created by Keith Giffen, John Rogers, and Kali Hama. Jamie Reyes made his comics debut in Infinite Crisis #3 as an El Paso teenager who discovers the Blue Beetle scarab, which grafts itself on his spine. This in turn grants Jamie superhuman abilities via his Blue Beetle armor, including strength, speed, weaponry, and wings. Development on a Blue Beetle movie was first said to be in the works in the late 2018 with Gareth Dunnett at Aloka, penning the script before officially moving forward with indie director Angel Mano Soto at the helm in early 2021. Casting would get underway shortly thereafter as Cobra Kai breakout star Xolo Maraduna was signed to portray the titular hero, and the roster has since continued to grow with George Lopez, Adrian Barraras, Alpano Carallo, Damien Alcazar, Balas Espardo, Raul Max Trujillo, Bruno Mascaron, and Harvey Gilliam. Wow, they're hard to pronounce those names, aren't they? Initially developed as an HBO Max movie, but Blue Beetle is being re-eyed for a theatrical release next year. With production set to begin sometime in the next few months, a major new addition has been made to its cast. With production on the film right around the corner, The Wrap has brought word that the Blue Beetle movie has found its villain in the form of Susan Sarandon. The Oscar winner has signed on to portray Victoria Cold, a new character created specifically for the film. No further details were revealed about the villain at the time of the writing. It's really weird. Blue Beetle has got lots of interesting villains and they've created a new one, right? Weird. If you're going to create a new one, I mean, is she that interesting? So the villain doesn't really sound that interesting, does she? But we have to wait and see, of course. Sarandon's casting as the Blue Beetle movie's villain comes just over a month after it was first reported that Oscar nominee Sharon Stone had entered talk to portray Cold for the film. Though it's unclear why the Thelma and Louise star was cast in favour of the Basic Instinct actress. Yeah, do you remember that? So they were clearly looking for a huge name to play this role. It should still serve as a strong sign of the character's potential to have attractive stars of both Sarandon and Stone's calibre for the role. Not really, they just took the money. Additionally, while reports have stated Cold is an entirely new character for the Blue Beetle movie, some curiosity has been raised towards the similarity in the last names between the villain and second comic Blue Beetle, Ted Cold. I think she's replacing Ted Cold in this movie. Again, the bait and switch. Replacing a woman, replacing a man with a woman, right? They're doing it again. That's all they're doing it. Same old, same old. Nothing is changing here. Replacing Superman with Supergirl. Bait and switch. They do it all the time. Theories of the connection between Victoria Cold and the second incarnation of the hero was seemingly further cemented when Mayans MC star Raoul Max Trujillo joined the Blue Beetle movie as Carapax, the indestructible man. The villain first appeared in Blue Beetle Volume 6, Number 1, as an enemy of the Ted Cold version of the character, raising questions as to whether the filmmakers are elected to take a new approach to both Victoria and Carapax, or if Jamie is not the first to don the Blue Beetle mantle within the DCEU. Only time will tell when Blue Beetle hits theatres on August the 18th, 2023. I think she was the original Blue Beetle. Then she went bad, but she's probably not a real villain. It's probably this other character, Carapax, that's the real villain of the film. So they can make her sympathetic because she's a woman. Basically, they're replacing Mr. Cold with Mrs. Cold. Same old, same old. I love Blue Beetle. I'm excited they're making a movie for it. I'm not going to shit on it totally. We'll see what they do with it. It's going to be interesting. These plans are going ahead. Meanwhile, Discovery claim they're going to change DC live action fundamentally. So what is it? What's going on? It's interesting. So now we talk about Robbie Amell's return to the Flash series. The Flash Season 8, Robbie Amell discusses DC twist behind his return. Robbie Amell talks about the major DC Comics twist behind his return to the Flash Season 8, as the last episode finished with a major surprise by Andy, whose surname I can't pronounce, of Screen Rant. Robbie Amell, who portrays Ronnie Raymond, breaks down his return in the Flash Season 8, which came with a significant DC Comics twist. As the Flash has been airing for almost 9 years, the show has featured a lot of characters from the DC universe, both heroes and villains. One of the earliest superheroes introduced during Barry Allen's first year as the Scarlet Speedster was Firestorm, who consisted of Ronnie and Martin Stein. While Victor Garber's Martin moved on to Legends of Tomorrow, Amell's character wasn't as lucky, since Ronnie died in the Flash Season 2 premiere. However, the dead don't necessarily always stay dead, and the Arrowverse and the Flash is no exception. Last year it was announced that Amell will be reprising his DC character for at least 2 episodes in the Flash Season 8. With details of how this would occur being kept heavily under wraps, in this week's The Flash Season 8 episode, Resurrection, the Black Flame arc took several steps forward, which included Ronnie, who viewers believe to be the fallen Firestorm. After some speculation, The Flash Season 8 officially provided its new take on the DC villain, Deathstorm, before ending episode 11 on a cliffhanger. In a new interview with TV Insider, Amell discussed the fallout of Resurrection and the epic reveal of the Flash's fresh iteration of the DC foe. The actor spoke about how the creative team came to him about the Deathstorm pitch. While many believed that the Flash would revive Ronnie from the dead, Amell was excited about getting to play the enemy, as he stated the following. It was really cool. I got a phone call and they were like, do you want to come and do this? And you know, whenever they ask, it's always a yes. Of course, I'd love to do it too. They were like, it's going to be Deathstorm. And I was like, oh, okay, selfishly, that's way more fun for me, laughs. And I asked them how they were going to do it. Would it be like the last time I came back? I only had a leather jacket then. So am I going to get something cooler? And they were like, well, it's actually going to be a lot of CGI. So while that's a bummer for me personally, it's really cool for me when I get to watch the episode. This isn't the first time that The Flash has utilised the Deathstorm character. During The Flash Season 2, when Barry visited Earth 2, he met Ronnie's evil doppelganger, who operated as Deathstorm. However, this incarnation wasn't heavily based on the source material, as it was simply a vicious version of Ronnie, who had kept Martin hostage inside his mind for years, unlike the pre-crisis version of Earth 2's Deathstorm. The post-crisis depiction visually resembles the character perfectly, with some changes made to his existence. Following this major reveal, it remains to be seen how The Flash Season 8 will finish the Deathstorm saga. While there is certainly a lot to speculate about Arrowverse's drama shows, the liberty it has gotten since Crisis on Infinite Earths soft rebooted the franchise with its continuity retooled, the writers have the opportunity to reimagine characters that either had a short run on The Flash or didn't have a major impact the first time around. This also fuels what The Flash Season 9 could potentially do, following the CW renewing two popular Arrowverse shows for the 2022-2023 TV season. After Resurrection, fans will have to wait until next week to find out what's in store for Deathstorm on The Flash. So this episode's not available to me till Friday. So it's a bit of a spoiler, but I don't care. So it sounds really, really good, and I'm glad that he's back, and it'd be very interesting to see Caitlin's reaction as well. So very exciting stuff for the Flash TV show. Now it's time for Indy 5 update. Indiana Jones 5 has same feel as the original, says Mads Mikkelsen. Mads Mikkelsen says that Indiana Jones 5, which is set for release in June 2023, will feel epic like the original Raiders of the Lost Ark. I'll believe that when I see it. By Brendan Klein of Screen Rant. Indiana Jones 5 star Mads Mikkelsen says that the sequel will have the same feel as the original films. Indiana Jones is a globe-trotting adventure series inspired by the film series of the 1930s and 40s. The original trilogy, 1981's Raiders of the Lost Ark, 84's Temple of Doom, and 89's The Last Crusade, have inspired legions of parodies, imitators. Harrison Ford plays the titular hero, a swashbuckling archaeologist who explores ancient ruins and discovers lost artifacts, many of which are imbued with magical powers. The three Indiana Jones films, which were all directed by Steven Spielberg and written by George Lucas, which they don't talk about, were box office smash hits, with Raiders of the Lost Ark making 10 times its budget and taking the 14 slot in the domestic box office its year of release. What's that mean? The 14 slot in the domestic box office its year of release, followed by both Temple and Crusade rising to 2 in their respective years. Considering the success of the franchise and the enduring love held for the original trilogy, Spielberg and Ford retained for the sequel Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull in 2008. Although the film was still well received enough by critics to be certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes with a score of 78%, audiences turned on the film's sci-fi tinged plot twist. That film sort of set up a sequel where Indiana Jones passes the torch to his son Mutt, played by Shia LaBeouf. But the intense audience aversion to that idea, as well as LaBeouf's controversial behavior in recent years, made that sequel increasingly unlikely. However, an untitled Indiana Jones 5 film is now in production, with Logan's James Mangold directing and eye on a June 2023 release date. While speaking with Mikkelsen about his new film, Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald, he's talking about no, that's not his new film. It's the Secrets of Dumbledore. THR couldn't resist asking him a bit about being cast in Indiana Jones 5 after exclaiming that the original Raiders of the Lost Ark is one of my favourite films. The Danish actor explained the tone that the new film will be attempting. He says it will be heavily inspired by Raiders and Temple of Doom, going for a tone that is more dense and epic. Read the full quote below. Raiders of the Lost Ark was one of my favourite films, and it just oozed that golden period of serials from the 1940s. And that's in the fifth film as well. They're going heavily back to the first and second film and getting that original feel. And the original indie, something dense and epic. So this will be interesting, won't it? Although Mikkelsen insists Indiana Jones 5 will recapture the feel of the original two films, it is unknown if any actors from those films will be returning. Karen Allen, who played Marion Ravenwood in Raiders, did return for Crystal Skull, so it's possible she will see fit to come back yet again. Ki Yoon Kwan, who played Short Round in Temple of Doom, has also made a splashy return to acting in this year's Everything Everywhere All at Once, so there's a chance he may feature as well. Even if neither actor returns, however, the cast of Indiana Jones 5 is featuring Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Oh yeah, what a talent. Thomas Kretschmann, Boyd Holbrook, Jeanette Rooney, Wilson Toby Jones, he's great. Antonio Banderas, he's great. Olivia Richards, in addition to Mikkelsen. Given its star-studded lineup, they're mad. Given his star-studded lineup, it will also be interesting to see if Mangold is up to the challenge of matching Spielberg's directorial energy with such a large cast. However, with such a talented ensemble and self-professed Indiana Jones franchise fan Mikkelsen approval, they might have something special on their hands. Well, Mads Mikkelsen is working on the production. He ain't going to say publicly it's shit, is he? So, look, I'm intrigued, but I don't trust these people anymore. So, we're talking to Mads Mikkelsen again about Fantastic Beasts and the Secrets of Dumbledore. Why Fantastic Beasts 3 doesn't address Johnny Depp Greenwald recast? Why would they reference a fucking recast? This isn't Doctor Who. Mads Mikkelsen explains why Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore doesn't address his replacing Johnny Depp as sellout Grindelwald. Why would it? By Alexander Harrison. Mads Mikkelsen explains why Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore doesn't address the Johnny Depp Grindelwald recasting. The new movie from director David Yates is the third in the ongoing Fantastic Beasts franchise, itself a spin-off prequel to the globally popular Harry Potter film series. After experiencing some pandemic-related delays to production, Fantastic Beasts 3 is finally set to hit US theatres tomorrow, April the 15th. The transition from Harry Potter to Fantastic Beasts has not been a particularly smooth one, and the spin-off franchise has found itself mired in controversy. One example has been the situation surrounding Depp's casting as Gellert Grindelwald, the series' main villain, which was objectionable to many due to the domestic violence allegations made against him by his ex-wife, Amber Heard. When Depp, who disputes the accusations, lost the libel case against Newspaper Limited, the studio asked him to step down from Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore, and replaced him with Mikkelsen. So if he's getting replaced, I'm assuming Ezra Miller's getting replaced as well. Just putting it out there. Now in the profile for THR, Mikkelsen explains why Fantastic Beasts 3 does nothing to address the casting change. The actor knows that this was an intentional choice on the part of the filmmaker, saying that practically everyone knows the real-world reason for Depp's ousting. Mikkelsen hopes that all it takes for viewers to adjust to the change is a single scene, after which his version of Grindelwald will just be accepted. Check out his full quote below. That was very deliberate. Everybody knows why the actors changed. The entire world knows why. It would almost be like an Easter egg to reality to point out we swapped actors. Hopefully, we drag them in with the first scene, and from there, they accept this world. While Mikkelsen is right that any acknowledgement of the switch would constitute a nod to the ongoing controversy, particularly given that the Depp versus Heard defamation trial is currently underway, the lack of explanation will strike many viewers as odd. No, not really. But what they could have done is, right, in the first film, Depp disguises himself as Colin Farrell, doesn't he? So this could have been a disguise. This could have been part of the story, and going forward, he just looks like Mads fucking Mikkelsen, right? And this disguise freezes or something. They could have done something silly like that, but there really isn't any need. Although Mikkelsen and Depp don't even look that much alike. But anyway, I like Mads. He's a great actor. Although he was slaughtering method actors, and I didn't like the way he was talking about that, but never mind. Unlike most franchises where it might be difficult to explain why one actor was replaced with another, Grindelwald's shifting appearance exactly could have been easily written off as the result of magic. Indeed, since the villainous wizard spent most of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them undercover, he was essentially played by Colin Farrell. I said that, meaning that changing Grindelwald actors in each installment could have been, even become, a kind of a tradition. On the other hand, implying that Grindelwald magically adopting Mickelson's likeness leaves the door open for him to change back, which is something the studio clearly didn't want to do. No, of course not. Their hopes to avoid controversy through Depp's resignation were for naught, though, since a large contingent of fans support Depp in his dispute and have decried his departure. Fantastic Beasts 3 reviews have indicated an improvement on the crimes of Grindelwald, but not by much, and this franchise could stall if the new release doesn't live up to box office expectations yet. It could be the greatest film ever, but if it doesn't make the Wonga, the Gringo, is it Gringo? Or is Gringo a person? Anyway, if it doesn't make the money, right? It doesn't make the Spondulix, then there won't be any more. J.K. Rowling, her controversial opinions have hurt her legacy. And that's sad, because she may just be remembered now for her controversies. Now, for me, I'll remember her for the genius who wrote all those Harry Potter books and helped make those awesome Harry Potter movies. She chose the wrong prequel. Prequels are the wrong things to do, and that's why she's in so much trouble now. So I thought I'd get to this article, actually. It's about Sonic. Sonic movie producers breaks down Hedgehog redesign after trailer backlash. No, what you mean is not backlash, customer complaints. It's a natural thing in retail, actually. Sonic the Hedgehog movie producer Neil Mortis breaks down Paramount's decision to delay the first movie and redesign Sonic after trailer backlash by Mikael Mason of Screen Rant. The producer of the Sonic the Hedgehog film, Neil Morris, breaks down the decision to redesign Sonic following the overwhelmingly negative response to the first movie's initial trailer. The backlash to the customer complaints to the trailer was so intense that Paramount agreed to delay the film several months to fix the problem and satisfy their customer. Director Jeff Fowler pushed his entire VFX team to redesign the character to more closely resemble his video game appearance. Neither of the Sonic the Hedgehog movies have earned stellar scores. What? Neither of the Sonic the Hedgehog movies have earned stellar scores from critics. The first film has a 63% score on Rotten Tomatoes, while Sonic 2 sits at 66%. Yeah, but what about the audience score, which is the fucking A? The A score in cinemas and the record-breaking box office. Make it make sense. Who cares about critics? No one cares about Rotten Tomatoes. Get over it. For the property reached an all-time so. However, the audience's excitement for the property reached an all-time high this year, with Sonic the Hedgehog 2's box office breaking the record for a video game movie's opening weekend gross. While the movies differ in some ways from Sonic video game canon, they offer heartfelt homages to the source material, unlike most other video game adaptations. Now, Mortis, who also produces other franchises such as Goosebumps and Fast and Furious, explains how the movie's unprecedented redesign came about while on the Town with Matthew Baloney podcast. While the Sonic the Hedgehog trailer backlash was significant, the huge interest showed the filmmaker they could have a hit on their hands if they addressed fan complaints. Mortis details the meeting with Paramount and Sega executives, saying the studio was very supportive of his and Fowler's decision to redesign the character. Check out a quote from Mortis below. I remember it like it was yesterday. Here's what we learned. We learned that we had more views and more interest in something than we ever thought we could possibly exist. The problem was, all the response was negative about the character, but we were like, holy crap, people love and are really, if we can turn this ship around, we already know we got huge interest. So we had all hands on deck, meeting the next morning in one of the boardrooms at Paramount, and we said, we are going to take the character back to what that is loved, and we need X amount of dollars to do this, and we need to delay the movie. And I have to say, Sega and Paramount said, okay, you're right. And we just decided we were going to make it right. We ultimately did not want to let the fans down. Paramount down or Sega down, who had given us their crown jewel to go and make a movie, or we put everything into it to make it right, and we listened. Wow. In an era where Hollywood calls its customer, yes, its customer, toxic fandom, this is very, very refreshing, isn't it, everyone? Paramount's swift response to the fan outcry, no customer complaints, as well as their poster campaign mimicking the covers of early Sonic games, shows a real willingness from the studio to listen and respond to viewers' criticism. This is something that many other studios, when adapting video games, can't seem to grasp. Not just video games, but superhero movies and everything else. Though it fared well at the box office, a recent adaptation of Naughty Dog's Uncharted received intense criticism from the game fans for casting a young Nathan Drake and for its deviation from the source material. But it still made grain, it still made money, it was still successful. Paramount's dedication to Sonic's hardcore fan base is impressive and something other studios should aspire to. The new design for Sonic was embraced by fans, so ultimately Maltese Fowler and Paramount made the right decision in adjusting the design with Sonic 2. Now, feasting at the box office, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 has already been officially greenlit, along with a spin-off for Idris Elba's Knuckles. In other words, the future of the Sonic films, thanks to Paramount's commitment to the fan base, is sure to be bright. Do you get it? The entertainment industry, I'm talking to the entertainment industry, just in case there's one of you watching or later on rewatching this video, right, you are a consumer-based concern. You're not making fan fiction. You're working for the customer. If the customer doesn't want to watch your shit, then your shit is worthless and you're all going to go bankrupt. That is the basics of business. And I didn't even go to business school, right? This guy, this is the Kevin Feige of the Sonic cinematic universe, right? Said, hang on a minute. They're right. It's shit. We did a shit job. It looks nothing like Sonic. Not just a little bit out of kilter, right? He doesn't look accurate. It's like Christopher Reeve's Superman. He fucking looks like Superman in the comics. If he'd come out as some, guy who didn't, maybe he had shaved hair or something like me, people would have hated it, right? So this guy used his common sense, and now he has a viable franchise on his hands. It's common sense, people. It's time to stop calling your fandoms and your customers toxic fandoms and admit it. We're stuck with these people. They need us to make the content, and we need them to consume the content. And until you lot in your bubble in Hollywood get this right, you're never going to be making or maximizing the potential in your movies and franchises and content. So where are we? Right. Any fans of The Simpsons about? Simpsons poster reveals Disney Plus short with Billie Eilish voicing herself. Wow. Billie Eilish and Phineas will guest star, whoever that is, as themselves in a new Simpsons short coming exclusively to Disney Plus, as revealed by a new poster by Adam Benz of Screen Rant. A Simpson poster announces an upcoming Disney Plus short with pop superstar Billie Eilish voicing herself, first premiering in 1989 on Fox. Matt Groening's animated sitcom famously follows the titular dysfunctional family comprised of Homer, Marge, Bart, Lisa, and Maggie. As they go on with their wacky lives in the fictional town of Springfield, over the years, The Simpsons have demonstrated an incredible knack for parodying various elements of society and popular culture, often with celebrity cameo appearances. Let me just say this. I fucking adore The Simpsons. It's great. One of my favorite things ever. I can't stop watching it. And they're talking about making another Simpsons movie, which makes me very excited. As a result of Disney's merger with 20th Century Fox, The Simpsons became one of many properties acquired by the Mouse House, and thus joined the catalogue of titles available to watch on Disney+. The streamer also announced plans to produce several Marvel and Star Wars themed Simpsons shorts exclusively for the service, such as The Good, The Bart and the Loki, and The Force Awakens from its nap. Now the next Simpsons short coming to Disney Plus has been unveiled. Billie Eilish has taken to Twitter to announce she will be guest starring as herself on The Simpsons in a new short coming to Disney Plus. As revealed by the poster, the episode is titled When Billie Met Lisa and will hit the streaming service on April the 22nd. Additionally, Disney Plus reveals that Eilish's brother and musical collaborator Phineas, that's who he is, will also appear, seemingly as himself. Check out the poster and the announcement for the short below. So this is the awesome poster, fucking beautiful. Look at that. Don't Lisa and Billy look amazing together? I'm loving it. If you're a fan of The Simpsons, smash the like button because I love it. Billy said, Billy is guest starring in The Simpsons when Billy met Lisa, the new short streaming April the 22nd. Well, Billy didn't even say it. Her social media team said it. That's a bit boring, isn't it? Never mind. The short will follow the precious saxophone player Lisa Simpson as she searches for a suitable place to practice her signature instrument. But when she accidentally stumbles into the talented sibling studio, Lisa is invited on a musical adventure for the ages. With a release date of April the 22nd, the Simpsons short is set to coincide with Elish's upcoming performances at Coachella, which she's heading at just 20 years of age, making her the youngest in history to do so. The Simpson family, especially Lisa, are certainly no strangers to the musical world, with countless episodes from over the years featuring appearances and references to various performers. One recent episode titled Panic on the Streets of Springfield saw Lisa befriending a Moody Morrissey analog. Oh, that was hilarious. Named Quillaby. I love that episode, voiced by Benedict Cumberbatch, which actually angered the Smiths' former frontman. With Eilish and Finneas voicing themselves, their episode is bound to be a more favourable depiction of the musical duo and the exhibition of their wide range of talents. Eilish is one of the biggest music stars around right now, and it will be interesting to see how she fits into The Simpsons well. At the very least, she will likely make some great music with Lisa. Audiences won't have to wait long for the exciting crossover as The Simpsons short premieres on Disney Plus in 1 week. Listen, I love things that change things. The Simpsons changed everything. We went from live-action sitcoms to animated sitcoms. The Simpsons, Family Guy, American Dad, Rick and Morty. It goes on. You know, it's South Park, which is one of the best. What Trey and his partner have done on that is amazing. I love animated sitcoms, and The Simpsons is simply one of the best things on television today. A show that's been going for nearly or over 3 decades now, and it started off as a little short on MTV. What an amazing, successful success story. Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Are we bored of them yet? Johnny Depp and Amber Heard committed mutual abuse, says couple therapist. It's interesting. Go back to the history of my channel. I kept on saying it, right, without really knowing much, that Amber Heard and Johnny had been taking lumps out of each other, literally and emotionally, for years and years. That no one's to blame here. They're both to blame, right? There's not a villain and a hero there. This was a bad relationship with not bad people that need to calm the fuck down, that need to get some counselling. There's no sides to be taken here. They're destroying each other's reputations, and this will carry on until they stand up, kiss and make up and say, let's just go our own separate ways. And Amber needs to admit that she's lying. Amber needs to admit that she's just as bad as he is. But she will never do that. Johnny Depp and Amber Heard were engaged in a mutually abusive relationship, the former couple's therapist testifies during their defamation trial by Adam Benz of Screen Rant. Johnny Depp and Amber Heard were engaged in a mutually abusive relationship, according to the former couple's therapist who testified in court. Depp and Heard have been embroiled in a contentious legal battle for years. Now the two met on the set of The Rum Diary in 2011 and married in 2015. A year later, Heard filed for divorce and accused Depp of domestic violence. This led to several other lawsuits, such as Depp bringing a libel case against the British tabloid The Sun for an article that referred to him as a wife beater. If anyone knows The Sun, you know they've done a lot worse than that. Depp is currently suing Heard for publishing a Washington Post op-ed in 2018, which she, without explicitly naming Depp, detailed being a victim of domestic abuse prior to her divorce in 2016. The high-profile defamation trial began earlier this week, and since then, each side has come out with explosive accusations against the other. Do you remember those trials we used to get in Dallas and Dynasty? It's a bit like that, isn't it? Heard has accused her ex-husband of sexual assault, while Depp's lawyers maintain that Heard falsified the abuse allegations in order to advance her career. Now, the latest development to come out of the ongoing defamation trial is from Laurel Avis Anderson's testimony, a therapist who worked with the couple in 2015. During the trial, Anderson testified to jurors that the former couple engaged in mutual abuse. and that Depp could be triggered by Heard. Read a portion of Anderson's testimony below, per Variety. I thought he had been well controlled with Miss Heard. He was triggered. They engaged in. When I saw, let me say that again because I misread it. I thought he had been well controlled with Miss Heard. He was triggered. They engaged in what I saw as mutual abuse, which I've been saying all along. During her testimony, Anderson revealed additional details about the couple's therapy sessions, which took place in late 2015. These counselling sessions were often highly contentious and saw both of them threaten to walk out at times, which Anderson attributes to the couple's terrible communication skills. According to Anderson, both parties were guilty of initiating fights, and Heard would sometimes hit Depp first. Let me repeat that. Amber Heard would sometimes hit Depp first. Sometimes Amber Heard initiated in domestic abuse of a man. But that doesn't matter to society today. But it's mutual abuse. It's clear allegedly he was probably, maybe, striking her, and she was striking him as well. And sometimes she was doing it first. This is a mutual abusive relationship. Johnny Depp is not the good guy. Amber Heard is not the good guy. I don't really care about this, but I've got an entertainment YouTube channel, and I'm reading it and talking about one of the current entertainment stories of today. As I said, this couple need to kiss and make up, get the help they need, and move on. And maybe Johnny can rebuild his career, and maybe Amber can carry on doing whatever she was doing, because she's not much of an actress anyway. Anderson's testimony will likely renew outcry over Warner Brothers' decision to fire Depp's role as Grindelwald in the Fantastic Beasts series, while Heard has remained on board the DCEU as Mera in Aquaman. Also from WB, instead, producers have expressed support for Heard's involvement, with many consider to be hypocrisy on the part of the studio. That's another own goal for WB and DC. If one thing is clear, it's that Johnny Depp and Amber Heard were engaged in an incredibly toxic relationship and would be beneficial for both parties to move on. Yes, Adam. Yeah, that's an understatement, but yes. However, the defamation trial is expected to last a total of 6 weeks over this shit, and will likely be rife with more accusations, denials, and other controversies. Fucking hell, I need to bring... Where's my Spotify? I'll put the Dallas theme on. I'll put the Dynasty theme on. Or Knots Landing. How did Knots Landing go? Anyway, it's a fucking joke. These two are an embarrassment to humanity, let alone the industry they represent. Should we talk about Top Gun Maverick? Smash the like button if you're excited for Top Gun Maverick. I keep on asking you to smash the like button. It's the same 4 people who've been here for about an hour. I hope you're enjoying the show anyway. Maverick's avatar jacket caused a huge problem in Top Gun 2. Of all the challenges faced during Top Gun Maverick's production, the film's writer explains what the biggest was reintroducing Maverick's jacket by Bart Wyszynski of Screen Rant. With all of the challenges facing the production of Top Gun Maverick, its biggest creative hindrance may have been the reintroduction of the main character's avatar jacket. Top Gun was one of the most successful pure action blockbusters of the 80s, and despite mixed critical reaction, excuse me, and it helped propel star Tom Cruise as a prominent junior lead nearly 30 years in the making. I never knew there were mixed critical reviews, by the way, but this is Screen Rant. The sequel is far more massive, possessing 10 times the budget and stitched together from over 800 hours of footage. Can someone tell me how you shoot 800 hours of footage? How does that even make sense? To outdo the original stunning aerial combat sequences, the long-awaited sequel will feature the heroic return of Cruise's Pete Maverick Mitchell, introducing a new class of Top Gun trainees that will engage in a special mission under Maverick's former revival. Tom Iceman Kaczynski, Val Kilmer, based on trailers and other promotional materials, the film's flying scenes are sure to be a spectacle. Even if they did contribute to the enormous amount of footage, actors had to learn in-flight camera configuration on the spot for many of those shots. And outside of the cockpit, they had to go through a Tom Cruise boot camp to prepare for the film. A Tom Cruise boot camp. He's nuts. I love you, Tom, but you're nuts, mate. But despite the technical and physical challenges, perhaps the trickiest element to find a resolution for was Maverick's jacket. In an Empire exclusive, writer Christopher McQuarrie explains one of the most frustrating creative hurdles while penning Top Gun's Maverick involved possibly reintroducing the protagonist's patched Laven Avatar jacket from the original film. However, neither McQuarrie nor Cruise wanted to bring the jacket back. McQuarrie was surprised when that idea proved controversial, saying the jacket was a huge deal to a lot of people. Everybody was saying it's a big part of who Maverick is. I thought I could barely describe the jacket to you. It's not Indiana Jones' hat. It's not Superman's cape. It's an aviator's jacket, Cruise agreeing, adding, I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm not going to wear this, and admitted to not knowing how to handle having the jacket in the sequel. New images of Tom Cruise from the set of Top Gun Maverick indicate that the character's identifying outwear is mostly through, not entirely missing that, because McQuarrie and Cruise eventually found the solution to their jacket problem. Cruise explained, we finally figured out how to put it in. It's a lucky jacket, McQuarrie added. Now we have him open a closet and go into the back and pull the thing out and wear it for a special occasion. Maverick is still Maverick, but he's not stuck in the past. The realization is a welcome sign that Top Gun Maverick won't entirely rely on the 80s nostalgia to push for ticket sales and positive reactions. And that is more to Pete Mitchell in this film than meets the eye. Let's say it again. There is more to Mitchell in this film than meets the eye. It's quite funny. The film is being made because of nostalgia. Let's just remember that. After all, people undoubtedly change after some 3 odd decades, and not forcing Maverick into his aviator jacket for the entire movie is a suitable illustration of that change. Regardless of the reportedly epic score, signs suggest that Top Gun Maverick is a darker film than its predecessor, tonally, especially surrounding the generational conflict between Maverick and his late best friend's son, Rooster Miles Teller. Given that adjustment and Maverick's maturity, McQuarrie's struggle with the colourful jacket makes sense, but fans inevitably like having some satisfaction in form of callbacks when it comes to sequels. So McQuarrie and Cruise may have found the perfect middle ground. I actually think it being a lucky jacket is fucking genius, and I like it. Would I have cared if he wore the jacket or didn't? No, I couldn't give a fuck, and I'm surprised people were that bothered. I get what people are saying, but it's not a big deal, folks. Come on. And the final story for today's Movies TV Mad Daily Live is about The Mandalorian. So, well, actually, it's not about The Mandalorian. Even more exciting, as promised on my chat, is an update for Ahsoka. The Mandalorian director says Clone Wars fans will love Ahsoka series. Isn't that exciting? Because Ahsoka, from the first moment I saw her, I fucking fell in love with her. She's one of my, forget female characters, she's one of my favourite characters in fiction. She's one of these characters that makes me all emotional. I don't know why. I just love her. The Mandalorian director Bryce Dallas Howard shares that fans of Clone Wars will be greatly rewarded by what's to come in the Ahsoka series by Molly Brazell of Screen Rant. The Mandalorian director Bryce Dallas Howard says Star Wars, the Clone Wars fans will love the upcoming Ahsoka series. The series will follow Ahsoka Tano, Rosario Dawson, through the galaxy as she searches for Grand Admiral Thrawn. Wow! The Star Wars Rebels Chish villain who disappeared with Ezra Bridger at the conclusion of the animated series. The former Jedi Padawan made a live-action debut in Chapter 13, The Jedi of the Mandalorian, and has since gone to appear in the Book of Boba Fett, Episode 6. While she has yet to direct Dawson as Ahsoka, Howard made her Star Wars directorial debut with Chapter 4, Sanctuary of the Mandalorian, and was able to introduce Clone Wars Bo-Katan Kryze Katie Sackhoff to the live-action world with her work on Chapter 11, The Heiress, an episode in which Ahsoka was briefly mentioned by Bo-Katan. In addition to her work on The Mandalorian, Howard also helped to bring Din Djarin, Pedro Pascal, back to viewer screens with the Book of Boba Fett, Episode 5, which is a much maligned decision, by the way, which has only strengthened her directorial reputation among audiences. She's also rumoured to be directing on The Mandalorian Season 3, though no official confirmation has arrived just yet. Red Panda, the fact that you managed to speak so fluently and you can say whatever you want in a live and not in a video that can be cut here and there is proof of your professionalism. Oh, wow. Thank you very much. I'm like dying out here. That's actually remotivated me just to finish this final part of the video, because by this point I'm like that, and I'm still trying to get my words out. But thank you, Red Panda. That's very much appreciated. The reason I do these daily updates live now is because I was filming the pre-records with an analog camera, which was uploading quicker, but the picture's shit. So when I started filming in HD, it was taking 6 hours to upload a half-an-hour video, and it just sucks my Wi-Fi dry, so I can't do it. So I thought, I know, I'll do it live. Sometimes the feed may be a little bit dodgy, but I thought we can do it like that. And I think it's a nice experience to do everything live from now on. Until I get better internet, this is the way I have to do it, and I hope you guys are digging the live content. Now, Howard has shared a tidbit from what viewers can expect from Ashoka in an interview with Romper. She spoke about her now, you see, I'm not going to get my word out properly now. Familiarity and passion for Star Wars that grew from a childhood spent around George Lucas and Star Wars action figures. When Clone Wars came up, Howard used the opportunity to share what she could about the upcoming live-action series that will focus on the animated series. Beloved character that what resulted was Howard sharing that Clone Wars fans will be greatly rewarded by what's to come in Ashoka. In Ashoka. You put the curse on me now, Red Panda. She continually emphasized her inability to share much more, but her fond praise of the series already speaks volumes. See everything she had to say below. Without giving anything away, you are going to love the Ashoka show that's coming up. I cannot tell you anything, but what I can say is that if you are a big fan of the Clone Wars, you will be greatly rewarded. Wow, that's exactly what we want to hear. 80s Rewind the Times 90s. Family Guy is great. Spooner Street is 3 streets over from me. I live in Cranston, Rhode Island, and understand all the show's jokes, lol. Yeah, some of them are above my heads, obviously, the animated shows, but I love animation anyway, so it's cool. With Dave Filoni leading the Ashoka team, it's even easier to believe Howard's words about how Ashoka will be received by viewers. Filoni, who helped to create Ashoka alongside Lucas in the original run of Clone Wars, has been praised time and time again by Star Wars cast, crew, and audiences for his extensive knowledge of Star Wars universe and how everything is supposed to fit together. His appreciation of Clone Wars as well as Rebels will no doubt make for a series that will deliver fully to enthusiastic viewers of each animated entity. Filoni has also been the sole writer of the 2 live-action episodes in which Ashoka has appeared thus far, both of which have been highly praised by audiences. Yeah, that's important to know. Anything with Ashoka, because he pretty much did create her. I think it was more him than George. But because it's his character, when she's involved, he's totally involved. And that's good. We want the best Star Wars stuff to have Filoni, front and center, because nobody knows Star Wars better than him, apart from George Lucas. Ashoka has no set premiere date just yet, though it's reportedly slated for a 2023 release. Really? That's a shame. Filming is rumored to start this month. Well, they ain't started filming yet. That's fair enough, which would seem to confirm the 2023 release window. The former Jedi Padawan's deep ties to both Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ewan McGregor, and Anakin Skywalker, Hayden Christensen, have viewers wondering if they'll get to see a younger version of Ashoka in Obi-Wan Kenobi before her series premiere. Though nothing of the sort has been confirmed or rumoured, what viewers can likely rely on for the Ashoka series is a follow-up to the events of Rebels and insight as to where Ashoka was during the events of the original Star Wars trilogy. If viewers' questions about each are answered, there's no doubt Howard's predictions about Clone Wars fans loving the upcoming series are correct. So, wow, as you already know, as I've already said, I love Ahsoka. I love Dave Filoni. He's got a great handle on Star Wars, and I do believe that she will play a part, maybe just a little part, in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. She has a past with Obi-Wan, but she has a bigger past with Anakin Skywalker, and to see her in live action, actually see him as Darth Vader, will be absolutely compelling and heartbreaking. And finally, I went onto the internet to find out what an overhaul meant because of the Variety DC Live Action article. To completely change something, especially by getting rid of some people or things and replacing them with others. Yes, the DC Live Action universe, everyone, is getting an overhaul. Everything's going to change. And any of you who are very emotionally linked to these future projects, whether casts are being interviewed or, pictures or comic book prequels are being advertised, no current day upcoming DC live action project is safe. This has been the Movies TV Man Daily Live with me, Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives, please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And remember, I will be back tonight with Movies TV Mad Live. This is Movies TV Mad Daily Live, where we update you with all the news. And in the evening, we do a chilled out, laugh out loud, basically just a chat stream where you can come in, ask me questions, and make your points and hot takes, if you must, about the entertainment industry, especially DC Live Action. That will be around 6 p.m. UK time. I'm in Cyprus, but more of you will understand UK time than Cyprus time. So I hope that's all understood. And until we see each other again, I will miss you deeply. But until then, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen. See you again soon. And don't forget, you can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. Give us a follow, give us a subscribe, and I'll see you tonight. Can't wait. I will see you very soon.